I welcome all of you to my new lecture session on carbohydrate metabolism. In this, we'll discuss in detail about the pentose phosphate pathway. So let's go ahead. So different forms of biochemical energy you can see in our body. In one of the major energy resource for our body is ATP. It is what we call it as cell's energy currency, as its exergonic cleavage is coupled with many otherwise endergonic cell functions. So in that way, ATP sacrifices its high energy phosphate bond, thereby it runs the biochemical reactions. And we have other types of high energy molecules where electronic energy like chemical potential is stored. So cells also have a secondary currency, that is reducing power. Okay, so NADH, NADPH, FADH2. So these are all some of the examples where oxidation reduction potential of a cell is maintained. Whereas NADH uses the power of metabolic oxidation to synthesize ATP, NADPH uses the free energy of metabolic oxidation for reductive biosynthesis. Okay, because quite often we come across with NADH and NADPH, and we often confuse ourselves by taking them as synonymous, but they are not synonymous. Okay, they are not the same. NADH is utilized for obtaining ATP in the electron transport chain, and also it can be used for oxidation reduction by reactions outside, whereas NADPH is exclusively used only for biochemical reactions other than electron transport chain. So here in case of cells, they normally maintain the NAD to NADH ratio near 1000. What does it mean? NAD plus levels are very high, whereas NADH levels are very low. Whereas so this favors metabolic oxidation while keeping their NADP NADPH levels near 0.01, which favors reductive biosynthesis. Okay, so NAD plus levels will be very high, NADPH levels will be very high normally in our body. So in this way, we both are able to produce through ET's electron transport chain, the burning of oxygen is facilitated by initiating the electron transport chain by using NADH, whereas NADPH is used for reducing biochemical reactions. NADPH is generated by oxidation of glucose 6-phosphate via the pentose phosphate pathway, and this is also called as hexose monophosphate shunt or HMP shunt. So tissues most heavily involved in lipid biosynthesis. Okay, in case of lipid biosynthesis, so much of reduction is needed. Okay, because this you will see in the biosynthesis of lipids in the next chapter. But those tissues where biosynthesis of chemicals are happening via reductive biochemical pathways, like in case of lipid biosynthesis in liver and hormone synthesis in adrenal cortex, so they are rich in pentose phosphate pathway enzymes obviously, and 30% of glucose oxidation in liver occurs via pentose phosphate pathway. The pathways which needs NADPH are, in case of synthesis, we have fatty acid biosynthesis, we have cholesterol biosynthesis, and see here fatty acid biosynthesis, cholesterol biosynthesis, neurotransmitter biosynthesis, nucleotide biosynthesis. Okay, in detoxification, reduction of the oxidized glutathione and cytochrome P450 monooxygenases resonation is actually done with the help of NADPH. This we will discuss in detail at the towards the end of this lecture. Okay, so let's move ahead. What exactly? Let's see the outline of pentose phosphate pathway. In the beginning, glucose 6-phosphate is reduced to ribulose 5-phosphate. Here 1 mole of NADPH is produced, and then ribulose 5-phosphate is converted to ribose 5-phosphate and xylulose 5-phosphate. So two enzymes, which one is converts the isomerizes ribulose 5-phosphate into ribose and xylulose, and these two reacts with each other to give us glyceraldehyde monophosphate, a 3-membered sugar, and pseudohepculose 7-phosphate, a 7-membered sugar unit. Okay, ribose and xylulose both are 5-membered rings. Okay, so 5 plus 5 is equal to 10. So that both are attached. So the carbon transfer happens from one to other. Thereby you will get a 3-membered sugar and a 7-membered sugar. And then they themselves react with each other. Again, they will give you fructose 6-phosphate, a 6-membered carbon unit containing sugar, and erythrose 4-phosphate, a 4-membered sugar unit. And xylulose and erythrose reacts with each other, so that that gives you again fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde monophosphate. So here largely all this pathway can be divided into two parts. One is the first part is over here, where we have oxidation reduction reactions are happening over here, and then in the remaining pathway whatever we have, so the rearrangements or otherwise isomerization is happening, so that other compounds are coming. So here in this we can see 3 stages. In the stage 1, as we have seen, as I told you, oxidation reduction reactions are happening, which actually provides us NADPH. Okay, so here glucose 6-phosphate is oxidated to decarbonated to give us a 5-membered sugar, that is ribulose 5-phosphate. And then in the second step, isomerization and epimerization. Okay, so because this is a 5-membered ring, and then that will be converted to ribose 5-phosphate or xylulose 5-phosphate. One is isomerization, second one is xylulose is an epimer of ribulose, ribose is an isomer of ribulose. Okay, so this is the way. And then a series of different compounds, bond cleavages and bond additions happen to obtain various types of molecules. Okay, so they will react with each other and give you, and then they themselves, because so many permutations and combinations are possible, so thereby we will get more number of products, like even fructose 6-phosphate, glyceraldehyde phosphate, erythrose phosphate. So all of them are coming in the third stage. Okay, next one is, now let's see the actual pathway. So glucose 6-phosphate, here what exactly is happening is dehydrogenation is happening. Okay, so upon dehydrogenation, the carbon number 1, so here the oxygen is getting oxidized to double bond O. So what is this one? This is now a lactone. Okay, this is not a simple acetyl carbon, but this is a lactone. So 3-phosphogluconolactone is the name of this one. Glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase is the enzyme. Then, so that will be hydrolyzed. So 6-phosphogluconolactonase is the enzyme which will break open the lactone ring. Simple hydrolysis reaction, one proton is eliminated, so thereby 6-phosphogluconate is coming. Then the second step, where one more carbon dioxide, because from here actually the carbon dioxide is eliminated, thereby it is going to give us ribulose 5-phosphate. 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase is the enzyme which extracts one more hydrogen and then helps in the elimination of carboxylic acid unit as carbon dioxide. Okay, so it appears like the way how alpha ketoglutarate is converted to succinyl coenzyme A, etc. Because in Krebs cycle also you will see similar kind of reactions where carbon dioxide is eliminated, parallelly at the same time one of the hydroxy group is getting oxidized. Okay, so in Krebs cycle we have seen production of NADH, not NADPH. And this ribulose 5-phosphate upon reaction, because the enzyme ribulose 5-phosphate isomerase converts ribulose 5-phosphate to ribose 5-phosphate. So what is the difference between these two? Ribulose is an is a ketose and ribose is an aldose. So how come it is happening? On the other day we have seen this reaction where ketoses are converted to aldoses. So here this double bond O undergoes enolization, okay, and then this hydroxy group will become carbon H, okay, CH2O. So this is a simple mechanism via which alpha hydroxy ketones can be converted to alpha hydroxy aldehydes, okay, CH. So this is the way how the reactions are possible, where ribulose 5-phosphate is converted to ribose 5-phosphate with the help of ribulose 5-phosphate isomerase. And we have one more enzyme, that is what we call it as ribulose 5-phosphate epimerase. Epimerization means change in the orientation of the functional group. See here 1, 2, 3. On the third carbon you have the hydroxy group on the right hand side. But whereas here you can find the hydroxy group on the left hand side. Okay. So ribulose and xylulose are examples for epimers. Now these two will react are joined together, because transketolase is the enzyme which transfers two carbons from xylulose onto ribulose. So thereby pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate is generated. Okay. So two of the carbons over here are they will be attached onto this aldehyde group over here. So thereby you are going to get pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Okay, 3 plus 2, 5 units, and then here we have another 5 units. These two further react with each other, so that here transaldolase is the enzyme. Transaldolase is the enzyme which results in two compounds, that is erythrose 4-phosphate, erythrose 4-phosphate and fructose 6-phosphate. So here what is happening? So 3 units from this are separated and going on to glyceraldehyde monophosphate, so that you are getting this and erythrose 5-phosphate. And erythrose 4-phosphate, okay, so here interesting thing is erythrose 4-phosphate and xylulose 5-phosphate. These two reacts with each other. To give us glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and fructose 6-phosphate. Okay, so this is the way how pentose HMP pathway gives us, first one, the very objective of this pathway, producing NADPH. Okay, so once the NADPH is extracted, what is the material that we are getting over here? Ribulose 5-phosphate. So now from here we need to get all useful chemicals, because it is almost like a waste material for us. So from here useful materials are to be obtained. So that's the reason why they are converted into ribose 5-phosphate and xylulose 5-phosphate. Ribose 5-phosphate is the input for synthesis of nucleosides. Okay, means DNA and RNA, where ribose unit will be incorporated into that. So here we are making use of that one. And then xylulose and ribose they react with each other, so that pseudoheptulose and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is obtained. So this will go into glycolysis pathway, so that this is utilized. And then these two will react with each other, so that they results in fructose 6-phosphate. Again this can go into glycolysis. And then erythrose 4-phosphate the waste material over here, and xylulose 5-phosphate the waste material over here. Okay, over here. So these two react with each other, so that ultimately we are getting fructose 6-phosphate and glyceraldehyde phosphate. Both are submitted to glycolysis. Okay. So friends, so this is the way how our cell is making use of a pathway other than glycolysis to obtain reducing equivalents NADPH for the survival of the cell. Okay, for survival of the cell we have to maintain both we need to apply energy, use energy to maintain heterogeneous environment within various compartments of the cell. So for that we have to continuously supply energy. So here the energy is utilized both for maintenance of osmotic pressure, ion concentration, and then oxidation reduction potential. Okay, so this oxidation reduction potential is to be maintained with the help of contributions from various resources within the cell. Okay, so for its adjustment we need to have a dedicated system where the NADPH plays a major role. The significance of HMP pathway. Significance of HMP pathway is like, see here, HMP pathway is essential for one, providing NADPH. So NADPH is meant for redox potential. Okay, maintenance of redox potential. Second one is NADPH is essential for biosynthesis of several molecules, including lipids or fatty acids and cholesterol. Okay, cholesterol. Terpene related metabolism, whenever and wherever it is there, NADPH plays a major role. Okay, because lipids are biosynthesized from acetoacetyl HMG pathway, HMG CoA. So from here isoprenes are produced. Okay, isoprenes are 1, 2, 3. You will have a double bond. So these isoprene units are joined together so that terpenes are synthesized. So in all these you will find so many double bonds. So these double bonds are to be reduced at the end, so that so many such units are joined together to obtain molecules like cholesterol. Okay, like this. Okay, where you will not find too many double bonds. Okay, you will not find too many double bonds. Only one double bond will be there, but as many as 6 isoprene units are utilized over here. Okay, so in this way NADPH plays a major role in the biosynthesis of important biochemicals like cholesterol, lipids, and some of the hormones are also biosynthesized like adrenaline, noradrenaline. There also reduction is needed, so there it is going to be useful to you. The third one is for the health of RBC. So in case of RBC, actually RBC is meant for carrying hemoglobin. Hemoglobin helps us in the transport of oxygen. Okay, so in RBC redox potential is to be maintained here for the survival and maintenance of the membrane potential. Maintenance of the membrane potential. NADPH is essential. NADPH is very, very important. Fourth one is your cornea. Okay, corneal health, because as you all know, in cornea the responsiveness of your corneal rods and cones etc. to the light ray. Okay, so that involves vision cycle. We call it as vision cycle. Okay, retinol, transretinol, and then how various chemical transformations happens inside the retina, which results in a signal. Okay, biochemical signal, so that we are able to see. So there reduction, oxidation, redox reactions happen for the formation of a double bond, as well as conversion of trans to cis to trans. The things happens at a quite rapid pace. Okay, that's the reason why in cornea and for its health and function we need NADPH. The fifth and very important role of NADPH in our body is NADPH is a reducing equivalent. Okay, because in our body, whenever and wherever toxicants are there, for detoxification our system works so that it creates oxidative stress. In case of oxidative stress, we have certain built-in antioxidants like glutathione. In glutathione you will have sulfhydryl group, okay, and it is usually present in disulfide linkage. Okay, you will have a very big protein will be there, sulfur will be like this. So in the regeneration of sulfhydryl group you need NADPH. Okay, NADPH is used for regeneration of the disulfide linkage, which will be used for nullifying peroxide radicals are detoxified with the help of disulfide linkage. In that process it will become, okay, disulfide linkage will be formed. Okay, sulfhydryl group will be converted to disulfide linkage. So the reversal of the process happens with the help of NADPH. Along with this, many other biochemical reactions happen in our body, like glucose oxidation reduction reactions. Okay, so that's what we call it as polyol pathway. Polyol pathway, where when glucose is entrapped in a cell, like in case of diabetes, when more glucose is entrapped within the cell, that is to be reduced. So glucose is converted to glucitol. Okay, a polyhydric compound. So here NADPH is utilized. NADPH is utilized. So friends, this is the way how HMP pathway plays a very important role in the maintenance of our health and functioning of various tissues in our body. I hope you understood the concept of HMP pathway, whose objective ultimately is to provide NADPH to our system. And in this pathway, in the three stages, in the first stage we extract the we will have a production of NADPH, and then the waste material whatever we have like ribulose phosphate is because in our body energy is conserved. Okay, material conservation will also be there. So in that way, whatever waste material that is produced, that will be converted and reconverted to obtain useful materials like ribose phosphate, which will be incorporated into nucleoside biosynthesis, and then fructose 6 phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate, they will be incorporated into glycolysis. Okay, so friends, this is what is HMP pathway. I hope you understood the chemistry and biochemistry behind HMP pathway and their significance. I request you to please let me know if you have any doubts through the comment section. Please share the video with your friends and colleagues. I thank you all for your time, and I'll see you again with another very useful lecture soon. Thank you.